Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor to the Allah, Hashem, Yahushai, Bahasham, HaKadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles who gave no stone, who rule well and teach well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. This is Brother Khan Ross with the great nation of Charlotte Camp. Coming from another take lesson to the spirit and power behind that similar shot. And this afternoon, I just wanted to touch on this video and more so the title, right? As it reads, "Compassion fatigue is the West tired of war between Ukraine and Russia," right? Now, we can see, them losing support, right? Now, they're not losing support on a governmental aspect because they're still getting, millions and billions of dollars, of support, but they're losing the support of the people, right? You remember when these things first kicked off, about a year ago, they had, rallies and marches and parades or whatever, protests, all throughout the country, right? But we're seeing the people, are growing fatigued. They're growing tired, of the American involvement in these wars, man. And now, people are in that same mindset in regards to that Hamas and Israel incident, man. So we're seeing all these taking place, and this is a result of compassion fatigue. People are tired of feeling sorry for these other countries, right? The American people, they're either on the side of the fight, and going into aid, or they're on the side of minding their own business, man, because they know that the more America gets involved, the greater chance they have of being drafted or their children being drafted, right? Now, we don't gotta watch the video. They pretty much just go into um, how Ukrainians feel like America's involvement, is starting to dwindle, right? Their aid is starting to dwindle, but they don't understand that it's the people who are losing compassion for them, man, right? And this is what's going to end up in a lot of sedition, coming to Babylon the Great, man, because we have, various sides being played out. Now, reading this in Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 1, it reads, "The burden of Egypt," right? Now, we'll stop right there and look at this word burden real quick. And it says, a load, typically a heavy one, a duty or misfortune that causes hardship, anxiety, or grief, a nuisance. So this is a burden, right? That's upon the minds of the American people, man. This is a burden, that's on these various politicians, right? Right? This burden upon Egypt because they're not on one accord, right? If they were on one accord, as they used to be, right? Because we understand that they had these enchantments on the minds of the people, through their various what's the word? Man, I can't remember. Patriotism, right? They will push patriotism. We saw that in the with the 9/11 issue, the Iraq issues, all these things that took place, World War One and Two, even back going to Vietnam, Korea. They always push patriotism, and that's an enchantment, through propaganda that they use on the people, man. Right? But that burden, right, that anxiety, that hardship is being shown because these things are losing their power, and the people, they're feeling the hardship because they're tired of getting involved in other nations' matters, man. But that's what, as prophecy says, they shall spread themselves as a green bay tree. America has their hands, you know, intertwined, through all these political events, man. They're always in the background, funding these proxy wars, as brothers often go into, right? And that's what's going on with Ukraine and Russia, right? America is funding Ukraine, in this battle. But continuing on. It reads, "The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it." So we're seeing, the minds, right? These people start to lose faith, right? There's still some people who hold strong to the so-called American values, right? And uh, they have faith in the military and things of that nature, right? But the majority of people are losing faith in that, man. So it's causing division. It's causing a separation, between you know these gun-toting Americans and these so-called liberal Americans, man. It says, and I will set Egyptians against the Egyptians because people are going to be fighting against the governmental state, man. You know, these people are tired of, they don't want to be bullied by the politicians anymore, right? But we understand through prophecy that when these draconian laws take place, people are going to be forced into what's it called, the draft, right? People are going to be forced to take part in these wars. People are going to be forced, to send their kids and their children, right, and even themselves off, right? And that's when they're going to start to fight back. But that's why we see, they already have in place these various sleeper cells, across the country, right? Letting these men in the borders, right, so they can control the people, because there's going to be an uproars of the people, as scripture says. Man. It says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof." Right. So all the counsels that you see, right, going back to the propaganda, of this patriotism that they push, right, it's not working anymore, right? People are tired of being pushed into wars. America's been in war, they've had more war than peace, probably like 75%. I forget the exact number of years, but they've been at war for a majority of this country's existence, right? It says, Egyptian shall fight against Egyptian. It's like, I shall set Egyptian against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So it's going to be sedition across the whole planet, or across the whole planet, but across this whole landmass of America, man. Right, Babylon the Great. People are going to be fighting against each other, civil wars, race wars. You know, them fighting against the government, right? As the scripture, let's go to it. Uh, this is Second Ezra 16. That's a lot of people, the background noise. Yeah, it might be 15. It's a lot. Yep. This is Second Ezra 15, and I'll start in 14. Woe to the world, and then I'll do all therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So that's what we're about to see, right? As a result of compassion fatigue, right? And these Americans being tired of their involvement in these various proxy wars, right? They're going to start to raise up, against the government, man, right? For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power, because they're not going to take heed, to any more authority, man. Right? The authority of these governments is going to be useless in the minds of the masses, man. Let's keep going. So, verse 17: A man shall desire to go into a city and not, it shall not be able, because they're going to establish that martial law, right? And people aren't going to be able to travel, in the same way. That's why we see these 15-minute cities being established, right, through this technocracy, right? It says, "For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. They shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of lack of bread. and for great tribulation. Because it's gonna be terrible times out here, right? Famine, right? Lack of bread, the various judgments by the sword. As we read the sedition, and that sedition is taking place in various realms, man. Right? It's going to take place, the people against the government, the people against the people, right? Against these police officers, against these UN troops, whatever, EU, UN, whatever they are, right? Right? That's where all that sedition is coming from, and the catalyst for it is that compassion fatigue, because the people are tired of being told to care about these other nations, right? When America, Babylon the Great, has their own problems that aren't being fixed, right? But they have billions of dollars to send in aid to Ukraine and to these Israelis, man, right? Let's go here. Now I don't make this too long. Just touching on the point, right? Because this is all ties into the downfall of Babylon the Great. So Mark 3 and 24. It reads Mark chapter 3 verse 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, right, it's great division, right? And we understand, the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is coming to bring division, right? Because why? That division is ultimately going to lead to collapse, as we read on. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. So that's what we're seeing, that division, right? The people are tired of being told what to care about in regards to these geopolitical matters, right? And then ultimately going to end up in uprisings, man, right? Uproars of the people, as the scriptures say. Now let's read this in the NLT. It says, a kingdom, Mark 3 and 24 in the NLT, a kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. Will collapse. And that's what we're about to see, man. Civil wars take place, right? Similarly, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart, right? We see, these various Edomites, because they're all Edomites at the end of the day. Right? These Russian Edomites, these American Edomites, these Israeli Edomites, Amalekites, right? They're all splintered by feuding. And then what it says, they will fall apart, right? It says, and if Satan is divided and fights against himself, going back to these Edomites, right, who come in this power or in the spirit of the spiritual demon Satan, man. It says, and if Satan is divided and if Satan is divided and fights against himself, how can he stand? He will never survive, man. Right? So this is what we're saying, right? The end of Babylon the Great, right? We're watching the division of the kingdom. We're watching, the separation, the feuding, the infighting between these Edomites, which is their nature ultimately. So we're seeing these things take place, which is as we said, will lead to that collapse. It will lead to the downfall of Babylon the Great, man. Right? So I pray that lesson was edifying to the spirit and power of your Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, by Hashem Dash. I want to close by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Dash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well, and peace and blessings to the whole elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom, and Tam Yasharal. Shalom.